Hi, my name's Ed Valorani, and today we're going to make Gavazzones, a traditional Italian cookie that my grandmother always made. It was one of my favorite cookies, in fact, probably my favorite cookie when I was young, and it still is my favorite Christmas cookie. So my grandmother came to the United States in the middle-20s when she was about 17 years old. She came from the Campobasso region in Italy and settled in the Philadelphia area with her parents. This cookie that she made was something that only she made in our family. Nobody else did. So I knew that I needed to get this recipe from her. And when I asked her first how to make the Gavazzones, she said to me, "Oh, it's easy," which is what she said whenever I asked her how to make anything. She said, "All you do is you need a glass of water, a glass of wine, and a glass of oil." And my first question was, "Okay, Grandma, what size glass?" And she said, "Oh, a glass." And I said, "Well, okay, but there's lots of different sizes of glass." She goes, "Oh, like the one I have in my kitchen." I said, "Okay." She says, "What else do I need?" She goes, "Flour." I said, "How much flour do I need?" "Oh, just enough to make the dough right." I said, "Well, I don't know enough to make the dough right." So anyway, my mom and her made them together one day, and my mom measured everything before it went into the recipe. And so today, that's what I'm going to show you, how to make Gavazzone. Okay, so now we're going to make the dough. First thing I'm going to do is add my glass of water. Now, of course, now that this is measured, it is 8 ounces of water. And I'm going to add my glass of white wine, and again, 8 ounces of white wine. And then I'm going to add my glass of oil, again, 8 ounces of oil. Olive oil, of course. And then we have to mix in 5 cups of flour rather. And what you're going to want to do is kind of incorporate this a little bit at a time. And then we just need to knead the dough for a little bit until it becomes a really, really nice consistency. And what you're looking for here is something that's a little bit pliable, but doesn't stick to your hands. So now that we've made the dough and we've covered that with plastic, we're going to let that sit for an hour. We're going to start making the filling. First thing we're going to put in here is 5 ounces of chopped, toasted almonds. Now what I did is I took almond slivers and toasted those and then chopped them. Now you can chop these in a food processor, but you just want to chop them, so you don't want to use a power that's real high, and that turns it into paste. Next, we put in 8 ounces of candied mixed fruit, 4 ounces of chopped citron. Again, same thing about the food processor. And we have one more chopped item to put in here. It's going to sound like a very strange item, but it's going to be chickpeas. Again, chopped. Now you want to be very careful with the chickpeas. As my grandmother says, you don't want to make a mushalid, which means mushy. So again, you're going to use a very, very low power on this. The chickpeas, you're using a 1 pound can. Next we have sugar, which is 1.5 cups. 12 ounces of Concord grape preserve. 12 ounces of peach preserve. And half a teaspoon each of cinnamon and nutmeg. 1 3/4 cups of chocolate malted milk. I know, you're saying, what is this cookie? It's good, don't worry about it. And 2 cups of breadcrumbs. Now, when I cook, I like to cook with wine. The reason I like to do that is every once in a while some of the wine splashes into the food, but not today. We're not cooking with wine. Today, we're cooking with whiskey. 1.5 ounces of whiskey, and unfortunately, it all goes into the food today. Then you just take this and mix it. Our filling is just about completely mixed now. As you can see, it has a real nice consistency. You can see the little pieces of things that are in there. The jelly and whiskey have made it all kind of nice thick paste. This filling actually makes enough for 2 batches of dough. The dough that we made will make about 8 dozen cookies. So this will make about 16 dozen cookies. Now the simple thing I do with this is after I use half of it this year, I put the rest in the freezer, and next year I don't have to remake the filling. All I have to do is make the dough and do the rest of the process. It's been about an hour. Our dough has had a time to rest. It's now time to start rolling it out and assembling our cookies. So as you see, we've had our dough covered. There it is. Still good. Obviously it hasn't risen at all because we have no yeast in this. You're going to want to take some little bit of flour. Flour your work surface because you don't want it to stick. But again, you don't want to use a lot of flour because you don't want to get this over floured, or else when you make the cookie, when you fry it, it's going to come out too thick. So just take a piece of dough, plop it down there. Again, just a wee bit of flour on it. Flour up the rolling pin a little bit and roll it out. And again, you want to get this, as you're rolling it out, you want to get it as thin as possible. Now time to cut. And I happen to use the glass, same glass that we use for the water, the oil, and the wine. And the reason I use this is because it's about a 3-inch diameter, which is just about the perfect size to make these. Dip it in a little flour, and then just use it to cut. Now, there's probably easier ways to make these as there is with ravioli. The reason I do it this way is to maintain that traditional shape when it's done of a half moon, which is the shape that they were when my grandmother made them. So now, you take a half of a tablespoon of the filling and go ahead and put it into each one. So now we've got our filling, and we just take these, fold them over, press them down. Now it's very important, take a fork that's dipped in a little bit of flour and press the edges. This is what keeps it sealed while frying. These edges are not pressed, the filling will all come out. Your oil will be filled with filling, and your cookie will not. The other thing to do is to, after you do that, give it one quick poke with the fork. And what that does is, as it is cooking, it allows any hot air to escape, and it will not break. Now it's time to transfer them to a slightly floured, again, not much flour. I want to change the consistency of the dough. Slightly floured cookie sheet. Our cookies are now made, and the next step is to get them over and to fry them. The oil is nice and hot, and now it's time to gently put in our Gavazzones. And you're going to want to have these cooking on medium-high for approximately 4 minutes. It's been just about 4 minutes, and as you can see, they've gotten a nice golden brown. So now it is time to take them out and put them on paper to drain. And what this nice golden brown is going to do for you is going to produce a very, very crisp outside. And then that inside is going to be soft and sweet. And there's a lot of ingredients that went in there, but remember all the sugar and the preserves that went into there. That's going to provide that wonderful sweetness. So here is our finished Gavazzones. You can see they're a nice golden brown and in that half moon shape. And the last thing we do to them is put a generous helping of powdered sugar on them. And now it's time to taste. Look a little bit inside. What you get is a nice, light, crispy outer crust. Soft, gooey, sweet, delicious inside. There isn't any one particular flavor that really stands out here. All you taste is just wonderful depth of flavor. Like to pair this with a homemade limoncello. And there you have it. A little bit of Italy right here in the U.S. Ciao and buon appetito.